Welcome to the Pint Size Personalization Podcast, brought to you by Johnson Plastics Plus. In this podcast, we talk to the movers and shakers, the influencers and makers who bring personalization to life. We find out what makes them tick and how they became successful in what they do. Today, Jackie's talking with Todd Downing of Fat Dad Custom Designs. Jackie, take it away.
Hi, everybody. I am here today with Todd from Fat Dad Custom Designs, and we're super excited, going to dive in and learn a little bit about how Todd got started in the industry. So I'm just going to dive right in and start. And my first question for you, Todd, is what inspired you to start your own business?
Well, I think I'm like everybody else. I just woke up one day and said, "Hey, I'm going to start making shirts and I'm going to start making stuff for people." Right? No, we all kind of fall into it. It was either you're in something that they needed it, whether you were in a band, whether you were, an employee owner of something. In our case, we raced cars, and we saw a need for in our class. It was cheap, and we got tired of seeing how many ruined decals that we had. So I said, I got a little graphics background. I'm sure I can get the stuff and make it so we can cut our own graphics for our cars. And that's what we did. And then somebody else heard, and next thing you know, we're doing it for a few other ones. And it just kind of grew from there and adding little things along the way. We've been doing it now 16 years, I think is what we figured out, 16 years. So we've had the ups and downs just like everybody else, but it all comes from that, hey, I want to be cheaper at racing cars, and I know I can do this and not have to pay somebody to do it. And that's how we got started.
Great. Awesome. So it sounds like a business kind of branched off from a hobby of
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah. And I think
Okay.
that's how a lot of it goes. We look at, we're just doing this, maybe make stuff for friends or family and that. And the next thing you know, somebody else asking, before you know it, you have a business and you don't realize that you're running a business. And for us, we saw that was a good opportunity. That was our fun money. It was like, oh, we're racing cars every weekend. Things are getting broke. It's paying for parts. Great for that. And then when it wasn't season, there's, oh, that's vacation money. It was something else. And so it was always that fun money there. And then we took it serious. 8 years ago, we decided to take it serious. And it's been full time as the only source of income for the last 5 years. So we've done well with it.
That's great to hear. So you've been in business for 16 years
Mhm.
and full time for 5.
Mhm.
So I think that is a good thing for, people who might be listening to hear who are maybe, kind of just getting started, that it takes time, but you'll get there. And for people who are listening and maybe are new to your business, can you tell us a little bit about, where you started and where you're at now, and just kind of a quick brief overview of
Yeah.
what you do?
So when we got started, it was just the vinyl cutter. It was like, here, we can do it. And, this is before Facebook time. So there's, this is prehistoric days, right? Like, you guys don't realize how good you have it today by just being able to type in a question on YouTube and Facebook and find these answers. For us, it was, you had to know somebody to know something. It was in old school forums of that. And a lot of those people didn't want to give up information. There was a lot of
Mhm.
gatekeeping going on back then. You were only getting information if you paid for courses, you went to work for somebody else, and that's just the way it was. So the invent of social media and YouTube really changed how easy it is for somebody to get in there and find the information. So with us, we got started with the cars. My wife at the time was a hairdresser, and they wanted shirts for work, and I said, hey, well, that's something that I think this thing can do. And after some research, realized, yeah, heat transfer vinyl, we can do that. So we got our first heat press, bought it used, and it's still running. It is still running here 16 years later. It is so old that it does not have a digital layout on it or buttons. It has a dial for your time and like a meat probe, temperature probe on it, and it still works great. The thing is it is not the greatest for sublimation, because after 37 seconds it starts to beep. It doesn't matter, and so you had to get used to it. That was one of the things when we got into sublimation, was like, oh, we definitely need better press than this. And that's where it comes in the equipment side. When you buy your equipment from, Name Equipment, yes, you can go to Amazon and buy equipment off, but you get what you pay for, when you invest in it. This is a Hicks press. It was probably 10, 15 years old when we got it. And, we've had it now for 16 years. So it's 30 years old, and it's still working. It's when you invest in yourself and invest in quality equipment, you're going to get that return on it. And I know our industry in general is a pretty easy industry to hop into with a very little expense. And so you get started with that stuff, and as you make money, you save money and you buy the equipment that you need from it. And that's what we did along the way. When we decided, hey, we're going to go more from a hobby to business. We're like, hey, how do what should we do with this? And my son at the time was 6, and I said, hey, what should we name the company? He said, well, you're fat and you're my dad, so you should name it Fat Dad. And it stuck. I haven't had to work out in 16 years to keep up with the name, so it works out perfectly for me for that. And so we just grew it with there. It was just little jobs from here and there. A lot of us have friends or family that are business owners or know somebody that is. So it's easy to ask them, hey, what are you getting this from? They'll support each other with it. And then you branch out. When we got into full time of it, it was we knew friends that were coaches of teams. So, hey, what can we do for you? We knew somebody who was in PTA. What can we do for you? And that was became a lot of that word of mouth and a lot of knocking on doors, a lot of hey, what can we do for you? And we still do that. Here it is 16 years later, and we still have days where there's zero sales. And I think
Mhm.
that's something that people, assume once you're in this, you got stuff coming every day, and there's times that it's not. There's times where you go through those highs and those lows of what you want to do. Tomorrow could be a $5,000 day. Today could be a 0
Right.
day. You don't know, so you just stay consistent with it and keep moving from it. And throughout our business, that's what we did was we just kind of stayed with it. And then what really kind of pushed us to full time was I had a divorce, took some time off in between it, and then got remarried, kid. And at my daughter's first birthday, somebody that I was doing stuff for, I was doing design work for them. They completely ghosted us on the job. And so I'm like, I have this equipment, I can go do it myself. And then that kind of just reignited the flame to let's see what we can do with it. And so we went from there to, we're going to take this idea from that. And within 3 years, we were in, an 8,000 square foot mall location doing 6 figures in sales. So it's easy to do. The job is not hard. We can do that. So our biggest obstacle is ourselves. But
Mhm.
when you are good with, when you get good support from who you're purchasing from, JP has a lot of amazing technical side of things where you can go through, oh, here's the PDF of it. Here's what I should do with it. Here's all my templates and here's all this. And sometimes it can get a little overwhelming, but when you look at it, everything is laid out there for you. It's probably one of the only companies out there that gives you here's your range because it's going to be different depending on what you're doing. So it's not a perfect science every time. And I think that's where people get frustrated at is that they expect as soon as we use something, it should work that way. And it doesn't necessarily do that way. I learned my lesson on slates. I am not a slate guy. I went through a couple $100 in slates for one order of slates, and I said, I'm not a slate guy, and I'm never offering these things again. But that's what it is. You find what you're good at. Apparel's another one. I had so many issues with ghosting, and like it's just not my thing. I'm not going to do. There's better people at it, and so as a business side of it, we don't need to be everything to everybody. We find what we
Mhm.
like, and we do that. And for everything else, we can have somebody else do it for us and make a little money on the side.
Yeah, that really takes me into my next question is, and you kind of answered this a little bit, but do you have any advice for new small business owners or for those who are thinking about, taking the leap and starting a small business?
Yeah, there's a couple there. First off, is once you're making that first sale, you're a business. Whether you think you are or not, you're a business. So start acting like you're a business. If you ever have thoughts of, I want to have my own storefront, and the great thing about COVID is so many people don't have storefronts anymore, and they don't need them. People got used to buying stuff offline and not having to go into a store for it. We were fortunate enough to be one of those. We went from when we signed our last lease deal, we weren't really sure if we were going to do it. We were actually in Mexico when we signed our lease on March 1st. And then when we got back, 11 days later, the governor shut the state down. So we never opened that store. So we
Oh
paid
my
for,
gosh.
paid for it, never opened it up. But we're going into it, we weren't sure if we really wanted to still have a storefront because at that time, probably 80% of our business was coming from online. So we didn't need it. It's an added expense in there. But from when we did that first sale and took it serious, we knew that we wanted to open up a storefront. So we knew that we had to have business expenses set aside. We knew we had to factor that in our pricing. And that's, I think, one of the hardest things for people is they just don't know their numbers. So they don't know what it actually costs them to make something, how long it takes them to do it. And so getting really good on your numbers, factoring in how long it's going to take me, paying yourself labor, because, here in Illinois, labor, it's 15 bucks an hour for minimum wage. So if I'm not making that, go to McDonald's, you'll get insurance, you'll get meals. Like, you need to be paying yourself. Profit is not a dirty word. We're in this to make money, and that's what you should be thinking of. And even if you're doing it out of your house, you still have expenses. The internet's not free, the electricity's not free, none of that stuff is free. So having your business pay its share of expenses. And what I like to tell people is, if you're using one bedroom out of your house, and let's say your house is 1,000 square foot, you got a 10 by 10 room, okay, that's 10%. So 10% of all your household bills, your business needs to be paying for. And when you set that up in your pricing, it'll be a lot easier to make that leap, because it's easier to have that price adjustment than to go from nothing to now, hey, I'm selling the same shirt at $15 that I was before, and I'm not making any money. Well, it's because you have real bills come in. So
Right.
knowing your numbers is just a huge part of it. Everything else you can kind of fumble your way through, because you'll have those things that'll just pop up. But as long as you're good on your numbers, then things will really do well for you.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice. And I like what you said about, profit not being a dirty word. And I think, we actually just posted a blog about, pricing sublimation products. And I think sometimes it's easy to, especially as you're starting out, maybe underprice yourself and not really see the value that you're adding to something with personalization. And I think that's, a great point to make about understanding your numbers, understanding what it truly does cost to create something and making sure that you're making that money back and then paying yourself for the work that you're putting in. Along those lines, I know that obviously you work with Johnson Plastics Plus, which we love. But as far as choosing vendors, and keeping profit in mind, do you have any advice or tips for picking vendors? Because obviously profit's something to consider, but
Mhm.
materials and vendors are also something that you have to think about when you're, you know, operating a
Mhm.
business.
Well, and actually, when it comes to the pricing side of it, I rarely consider that when I'm purchasing from a vendor. What I look at is their customer support behind it, because I
Okay.
can find something cheap anywhere. That was the other thing that COVID brought in, was there's so many of these micro distributors now that are just bringing in certain things over from China, and they're selling them, and they're undercutting some of the other ones. But where's the support behind that? When something goes
Mhm.
wrong, what are you doing with that? Do they have templates for it? I was looking at somebody else's tumblers, and they wanted to charge you for the template. Wait, you're selling me something to use and you want to charge me for a template? And it was on a skinny tumbler. So it's a square. I just needed to know the circumference of it, and I did it myself. But you wanted to charge me a couple bucks for that? So you start seeing some of these things that they're doing. So it always comes down to the support side for me, because whether I'm buying something for $8 or $10, that's going into my pricing formula. I'm going to make the same percentages off of it. So it doesn't
Right.
really look at that. It's that service behind it. That's what you're really paying for. Yes, you can import stuff from China, but good luck at 2 in the morning when you have to get up and contact China to get an answer. And then good luck waiting your 45 to 60 days for it to come on the next slow boat. It's easy to be able to contact JP Plus and be like, hey, I'm having issues with this. Okay, send us some pictures. What are you seeing? Okay, no problem. And
Mm.
it's things like that where it's always the support is what I look at. It doesn't matter what it is, it comes down to that, because I will pay more for better support, for better service on it, because that's what it means to me. If I have a question and I can get an answer back within an hour, if I do it through somewhere else and I don't get it back for 24 hours, that was a day wasted. So,
Right.
I really look at
Right.
that as, every minute of every day costs us money. For us in our business, it roughly is 120 bucks an hour. So, when we look at it, it's $2 a minute. So as we go through things, if I'm spending 10 minutes on something, there's 20 bucks that needs to be accounted for somewhere. So when we're sitting on these, waiting in these things, looking for templates, doing that, it's just not worth it. Why we think we're
Right.
saving, that $2 on the product because we're getting it from somebody else. Are we really though? Because are they in stock? Is it a consistent product? That's something else, is the consistency. When you're using a known trusted vendor, sure, you might pay a little more, but you know that the consistency is going to be there. And if it's not, they're going to take care of it for you. A lot of these micro ones, you're just not. They're like, hey, okay, we'll see what the next batch looks like, but then you're waiting on it. So, make those partnerships, ask those questions. What happens if? And
Mhm.
a legitimate vendor will give you all the answers you want because they don't want you to be an unhappy customer.
Mhm.
Unhappy customers cost everybody money, and not just in
Absolutely.
product, but yeah, but just in time to deal with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I try to make a good thing of once a week at least talk to one of my vendors and tell them thank you for doing a good job and that because how
Mm.
often do we really reach out to anybody? It's when we have issues. We don't reach out and be like, hey, great job on this. It's like, hey, no, this was bad. It's so just to reach out and thank for that because magically stuff starts happening a little bit better for you. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but when you're nice to people, they're nice back to you. And when you just out of the blue send them, hey, thanks for helping out with this, then magically maybe new samples show up to you. Maybe you're at the front of a list of something new coming out. You get bumped up in there. And it's because the way I've always felt is you want to whatever I want from somebody is what I want to give them. So if I want the respect, I'm going to give them the respect. If I want, the acknowledgement, I'm going to give them the knowledge. At the end of the day, I tell all of our customers because we have the two sides of business, the retail side and the wholesale side is I don't want to be somebody's printer. I want to be their partner. I want to be their go-to when they have issues with things, when they have new products that they're working on that. I want to be able there to do everything for them because if they grow, we grow. It's the better, more we can help them out, the more that we make, and we're a partnership in this. So we're just not their printer for them. So when we look at customers as more of that than more of just a number and a dollar amount, we can look at them as a partnership. I think it helps
Mhm.
increase that as well.
Yeah. So my next question is what equipment do you currently run? And what is your favorite piece of equipment right now? And why?
So where do we start with this? We've got the wide format roll-in printer. We've got a wide format DTF printer. We've got a wide format UV DTF. We've got the Epson printers for sublimation, and we've got the X tools for laser. Currently, I think my favorite one is probably the X tool for the S1 for laser, just because on my side we do a lot of content creation. Another thing, there's not a lot you can do if something's printed out. Like the wide format printer, yeah, you can kind of get it, but it's just a printer printing back and forth with it. Same thing on the DTF, only it's worse because it's upside down, it's backwards, and white covers everything. Sublimation printers, they're like the colors are off on that because they don't understand what they're seeing. So the X2 is the easiest one the lasers are the easiest ones to create content with because it's a quick, fast, simple, easy thing to do with it. And probably our favorite, I've got one here in my hand because we're getting ready to run another set, are what is it, the D30, the 30 ounce simply engraving tumbler. If there's one product, these, the black tumblers, and why I suggest these tumblers in black is because everything looks good on black. Doesn't matter the company's logo, doesn't matter anything, you can do it and it always looks good on black. So you can have one tumbler, one color, and use it for all your customers. The other thing that I really like about these is not only can we laser engrave on these, we can use our white toner transfers on these, we can use our UV DTF transfers on these, we can use our regular stickers on these. So there's so many things that you can do with just one tumbler. You have 10
Mhm.
stores open, all of them have black tumblers in it. You don't have to have 10 different
Great.
colors. You have black. You can use it a lot more with the across the platform for it. And so we have done that. We've done it with samples. The 20-ounce ones are really good. Say you have a business, doesn't matter, pick out any business that you're doing their shirts and stuff for. If you're able to do a tumbler, your cost in it is really minimal to take that same logo and then laser engrave on it and give it a here you go. We just did that with a label order that we do 3,000 labels for them every month. And we took into them, hey, here's some tumblers for you. And then on the next order, like, hey, we need to order a dozen tumblers. Okay. And so it's
Perfect.
things like that is you're just able, the low entry cost on it for what it is and the perceived high value of it, the opportunity to do it's so versatile to do so many things with it. Tumblers are specifically the black powder coated ones are my favorite product to use for just hands down because of their versatility.
Yeah, I love what you said about being able to use different technologies with
Mhm.
a simple black tumbler and fit whatever your customer needs. So whether you said that's engraving and they want that look, or they want a white toner look or a sticker,
Mhm.
I think that's a great point to make of, you can really find a product that works for you and your customers and then make it whatever you need it to be. So one of my favorite questions is next. It's about social media. So I'm curious, what is your favorite social media platform to share your work, and why?
Hands down Facebook, because everybody has it. When it comes to it, yeah, the younger generation maybe, really pushing on the TikTok side of things, and that's great. That's another platform for it. But get really good at one before you start moving to other ones, because then you start spreading yourself out. We've learned
Mhm.
over the years that there are a lot of third-party sites or apps that let you schedule content. What we found when we were using those is that we weren't getting the same reach that we were getting when we were posting it ourselves. And it was because,
Okay.
the algorithms know that, hey, this is coming from, a different source. So, is it going to get seen? I don't know. So Facebook also allows the opportunity to get in touch with your local area, because most, have a local market, a local group, something with that. It allows you to get in touch with your niche. So if you're, a dog lover, well, okay, what kind of dog lover? Well, I'm a golden lab lover. Oh, I'm this kind of, in this kind. You can really get down into it, so you can, really research your customers on it and provide some information on it. So it's the easiest one to understand because you use it so regularly. It doesn't matter if it's just text posts, video posts, or photos. You can use it for anything across it. The biggest thing that I tell people when it comes to social media is, if you think you're posting enough, you're not. You need to be posting 10 times more than what you are right now. And when people look at me like I'm crazy, the analogy that I give is, when a new song comes out on the radio, how many times a day do you hear it? Or in some cases, how many times an hour do you hear it? You hear it a lot, right? Because they want you to see it, they want you to know it. What is it, 7 touches before somebody actually remembers something, or thinks about it.
Mhm.
So we think, when I'm scrolling on Facebook, I'm scrolling, but am I scrolling back hours upon hours? No, it's maybe that 10 or 15 minute window that something got posted, and if somebody didn't post something there, I'll never see it. So to
Right.
be able to be consistently posting, we're posting on a slow day, we're posting 10 days. On a busy day, we're posting 50 days, or 50 times. I mean, I'll look at right now for our analytics from yesterday to today, and I know we're down because it always says we're down in the morning. But like in the last 7 days on Facebook, we've had a reach of 4.5 million in engagement of 996,000. So last 7 days we've had that. From yesterday, 403,000, 45,000 engagement. So we really push to get out there, to be seen more, to interact with more people, because the more eyes that you can get into something, the better chance you have of selling them. And so you
Right.
just, you got to scream from the rooftop, right? The more you hear a song, the more you know it. The more promotion that there is behind something, the more you know it. Look at anytime a new movie comes out, they just don't release the movie, right? They've got months of build up to it. They're pushing it because they want it to be seen. We need to think of ourselves the same way. We got to keep pushing things out there. Quit thinking, oh, these people don't like it. When you know you've done it too much is when they tell you, and then you do it more. It's just that simple. If you're in this to
Yeah.
make sales, you have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really great advice. I really like that analogy of, a song on the radio. And, it's, I think, when I think of a pop song, I think it's like, oh, I don't know if I like that. I don't know. And then the more you hear it, it becomes an earworm, and then you're singing along. And I think it's the
Mhm.
same analogy there. Somebody might be like, oh, I don't know if I want that, but they keep seeing it. And they're like, I really do want, this tumbler with my name on it, or my business
Mhm.
needs this. And I think that's a great analogy. So that's really all the questions I have for today. Is there any final thoughts or advice that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Today is May 31st, so tomorrow will be June 1st. If you're not planning Christmas, start it. We are going to start running Christmas sales starting in July, running it up until June. And that's the biggest reason is, in our industry, especially on the sublimation side of it, look how many different ornament styles that we have. How are you going to present all of those? Look at all the selections that JD Plus has. How can I start doing stuff now? Can I offer an early discount on it for them buying in July? Like, hey, you buy in July, save 40% off it. We're going to charge $20 for a personal ornament anyway. So if we can cut that back and still make good profit off of it, and they're getting a deal, and then each month as you get closer, maybe it goes from 40 to 35 to 25, and then by the time October hits, there's no discount. They didn't order early, but it gives you a chance to show off all the different variations of things that they have. whether it's the crystal ones, the leather ones, the sublimation ones, there's so many opportunities for you to pick a style that you like to be able to push to your customers. And if you wait too long, you can run out of things. So get early on that. It is never too early to be thinking about the next holiday. And in general, even though we're still in session now in school, we've already had talks this week about setting up stuff in the fall. So we're usually setting up all of our school fundraising stuff for the fall and the spring. So you try to be 3-4 months ahead of stuff so you're able to go when it comes. So, keep that content calendar open and start pushing that stuff. And at the end of the day, as long as you're using a company like JP Plus, you're going to be fine with whatever you order.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate that. Without our customers, we don't, I think you said something earlier, like if customers don't grow, we don't grow, and that's how we feel too. So we're happy to have the support of businesses like yours. So thanks for hopping on. And where can they find you?
Easiest way to find us is just at fatdadcd.com. They can find all our links over there, and then we'll be able to help them out with anything they have.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you joining. I hope you have a fabulous weekend. And I think it sounds like June 1st, you're going to be starting planning Christmas. So should we say Merry Christmas?
Merry Christmas. That's what we should start doing. Start planning it now. Get ahead of everybody else. And the best thing about it, if you start doing it now, people are going to be like, you're already talking Christmas. And that already gets them, gets them fired up, because people are like, it's not even summer yet. What are we going with this? But if you're doing that on Facebook, what's that do? It generates views and content and questions and comments, and you just keep it rolling from there. So yeah, go after it.
I love it. I love it. Well, it was great talking with you, and we will see you around online.
All right, we'll see you.
Thanks, Todd.
Anytime.
You've been listening to the Pint-Sized Personalization Podcast with your host, Jackie Faith, brought to you by Johnson Plastics Plus. Please remember to like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And for more information on the thousands of customizable products we have available, visit jpplus.com.